everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Food's Garage. Today we got a Dana 60 here that needs to go on the 82. But before we do that, we got to get it cleaned up and repainted, and I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to try not to bore you with too much of the tedious stuff. I'll show you, let's take it apart a little bit and get it out of the bed of this truck. So the first thing we're going to be doing on this project is working on these axles. So obviously this is one of the first components that has to be reinstalled on the truck here. So I want to get these things cleaned up before they go in. So we're going to work on getting all this loose gunk off of them, the loose paint, any thick rust. We're going to try and figure out how to clean all that up. You can see they're pretty nasty. They came from the south, I believe. So yeah, we're going to get this all cleaned up. In order to do so, I got to get these things out of the bed of my truck. And me being alone out here, I'm sure I could ask for help from somebody, but I'm too impatient for that. And this truck already sits pretty high in the back. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna disassemble things off of them that I'm not gonna use for the project. So the first thing is these huge brakes on this rear axle. These big drum brakes are gonna go away. I'm gonna be converting to disc brakes, so I gotta pull the axle shafts out, pull the hubs off, and then I can pull these drums out with the hubs. And I can take all the brakes, I can take those backing plates, and then that'll make this axle a lot easier and a lot lighter to get out of this. I might be able to do it by myself then, because right now I could barely pick up one end of these things. I'm gonna figure out how to get a jack in the bed just to get my jack stands under it. So yeah, that's where we are at with that. And then the front end, I'm not really sure yet. There's a few things I can take off, like these calipers. I'm gonna replace those. They're really rusty. I don't trust that they're any good anymore. I'm not gonna be using that steering linkage anymore, so that's coming off. Obviously I can unbolt these loose spring plates. Steering dampener comes off, you know, a couple little odds and ends. And then if it's still too heavy, I'm not sure yet. Maybe I can pop off the whole ends of the knuckles. I don't know. It'll be a lot of work if I have to go that far, but my main goal is just get them cleaned up, to get the front cleaned up. I'm gonna be doing high steer kit, so this cap can come off, but that's not much weight to take that one piece off. This is why I'm doing the disc brake conversion, because I had a feeling the brakes on this thing were probably shot, like they always are. So as you can see, the shoes are soaked in probably gear oil or brake fluid. I don't know which one. Either one is bad for shoes. You can see how it's soaked in there. So even if I were to keep these drums, I'd be replacing these shoes, probably the wheel cylinders. You know, who knows how much of that hardware is still good in there. It might be okay. It's like they sprayed it with just like a silver paint, which is interesting. It's not lubricant, no, it's just paint. So this is out of a military truck, so maybe it's just something they did there to keep down on the corrosion or something. And the drums you can see are pretty filthy also. So yeah, that's part of the reason I'm doing the disc brake kit, because it's probably not going to cost me much more just to convert it to disc brakes than it is to actually have to sit here and replace all of this stuff. I do get to keep the center hub. I gotta drive all those studs out, because they're all shot too, which comes with the disc brake kit. New studs. Here, let me tip it over here. There we go. Give you a close-up look. You see how rusty those studs are? You can't use those. So yeah, but we do have to save the hub itself, which is fine. So yeah, that's where we're at. Let's go look at the other side. And this is the other side. This side is dry, but it's, you see these shoes are completely cracked. It's almost too dry. It's real rusty in here. So all this stuff would have to be replaced. So disc brakes are the way to go. Well, that was a pain in the butt. We got it down here. At least now we can roll it around on that. All right, we got it all out. Check it out. So I'm not gonna put on YouTube how I got this out. As you can see, it involved a chain with an anchor, come along, more chain. You can see the back of the bumper scratched and there's some damage there. So yeah, we just kind of slowly slid them off. But anyways, this is the axles. We are out. You can see we stripped down that rear axle as far as we could. Got all the brakes off, all the stuff I'm not going to use. The front axle, I didn't want to pull all this stuff off. It's not really necessary, at least not right now. So I did pull off the steering, a couple little odds and ends, got the calipers off. Those are, you know, kind of some weight. So we got all that stuff off. And as you can see, we got a little pile of parts building up here. That's all the rear brakes. That is an axle shaft I need. That's an axle shaft up there. It is. There's the steering shaft or tie rod there that we pulled out. But you can see we made quite a mess back here. Oh yeah, and then there's those big old drums. So we got it out. I missed my tractor. Whew, now that that's done, that was a lot of work. I can't lie, I did that like a week ago and I forgot all about that. Anyways, I didn't film actually getting those things out of the truck just because, I don't know, YouTube safety standards and community guidelines and whatever. Basically what we did is we had to come along on the front of the truck and on the front of the bed, and I basically slowly pushed them off the bed and just slowly let them fall and kind of work their way out. It was fine. It worked out great. But anyways, we got it out of the truck. And as you can see, these are pretty rusty, pretty dirty. They got a little road grime buildup on them and whatnot. So I want to get these things cleaned up and repainted. But to do that, I got to knock all this loose rust off. And then I'll show you in a minute. I'm also going to change out the shock mounts on this front axle. So let me give you a little closer look. All right, here we go. You can see they're not horrible. They got a little surface rust on them. This side's a little worse. It's got some heavier scale kind of built up on it. You know, this chunky stuff like right there and whatnot. So I want to get all that off so the paint looks good, and then obviously get that built up grease and stuff off. Now to do that, we're gonna try something new for me. I bought a new tool. This is a, shoot, I should have thought about this before I started filming, a needle scaler. These little guys here, you can see I've already tested it out just to try it. They bounce back and forth really rapidly, and then they just eat away at all the rust and the rough stuff. It doesn't take it down to bare metal, but it knocks off all the heavy rust stuff, the heavy rust stuff, the heavy scale, and then like you can see in the corners here, it's got some old grease built up in there. It'll knock all that out. I mean, I almost don't even need to hook it up to air. But anyways, we're gonna get this thing all cleaned up, and it'll knock off some of this old paint and whatnot too. Works pretty cool. So I'll show you that real quick just to see how it goes. And then the other thing we gotta do is, you see this shock mount? This is your shock mount. Shock mounts in between that. This one looks decent. It looks solid still. You can see it's got all its metal. But if we go to the other side, this would be your passenger side. This one is in really bad shape. It is very thin. You can see how much it's rusted through, and there's not a whole lot of metal left on the ends. So to fix that, I set them down. Okay, right here. These are what we got. Let me get you this side. This is what we got. This is a remanufactured piece that somebody makes. These are actually significantly more heavy duty, a lot thicker materials. So they're actually kind of an upgrade in a way, even though I don't ever imagine breaking a shock mount, but hey, you never know. So I'm gonna have to cut and grind that thing off and get this one in there and weld it back on. Not sure if any of the really old subscribers of mine recognize this air compressor. This thing is get that out of the way. This thing's been around for a minute. So I bought this thing, about, geez, probably 10 years ago. And I bought it when I lived at a rental house in Everett, Washington. And I had a little one-car garage, and I was doing like sandblasting and stuff like that. So I bought this little compressor. Well, it's actually a big compressor. It's 60 gallons, but it runs on 120 volt. So it doesn't draw a whole lot, and it's easy to just plug in anywhere and use it. I used it a lot in Everett, but then when I moved out to Granite Falls in my last house, when I had that little shop and whatnot, the power in the shop couldn't run that thing. It would blow the breaker if I tried to kick it on. So now that I'm in this new house, new garage, I can plug this thing in, which I've already done, and I've got it cranked up to 130 PSI, and it runs great. So yeah, maybe somebody recognizes this thing. I think I probably did a video on, I think I did a video on this probably 10 years ago on this channel. So shows you how far we've come. All right, needle scaler time. We're all hooked up, ready to go. Got a leaking air fitting on the end there that's really annoying. Anyways, we're gonna hit this thing a little bit. Let me just show you how it works. Sorry if the noise is obnoxious. Here we go, this is basically what it does.